Do you feel disorganized, scattered, like you're being pulled in a million different directions, or you're constantly adapting and responding to other people's needs in your environment, and then you're left feeling frustrated that you're not able to stick to the habits and routines that are important to you? You are so not alone. And in this video, we're going to talk about the reasons why most likely that happens from a neuroscience perspective, and what you can do to create habits and actually stick to them. My name is Ingrid, and I am a holistic personal trainer and mind-body coach, and I help people transform through working through their old subconscious patterns, creating new ones so that they can reach their goals and live in alignment with who they really are, what they value, what their needs are, so that they can live a better life, essentially. And for the past year, I have not been making as many YouTube videos. I have been very busy working through a master's degree in leadership and organizational psychology, but I'm super excited to be back here to create some more videos that hopefully will support you on your growth path. And from this beautiful garden in a suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota, I want to first and foremost say that there is nothing wrong with you for having this pattern. Very likely, it's your brain and your nervous system that has been wired to be very adaptable and be reactive to what's going on in your environment, and maybe be easily distracted by what's going on in your environment. And that's actually a strength. It's a strength to be adaptable, and it's a survival mechanism as well, because perhaps you learn to be more that way in order to feel okay in the environment that you grew up in, or things that you experienced when you were younger. It was a way for you to cope with stress or discomfort. And it's a very intelligent way that our brains learn to be okay in the world, essentially. And just to give you a personal story, I used to think that I wasn't a routine person. I thought that I was just very good at adapting to other people, and that helped me get by actually in the world. Like, I would respond to people's needs. If I had work engagements or things that I had to complete with school or show up for other people, especially my family, then I saw it as a strength, and it was something that I was very good at, just adapting to whatever environment or whatever person I was around. However, this became a trap for me when I realized that I wasn't making space for myself, and I actually had a really hard time deciding on what was important for me, sticking to routines that I knew were going to be beneficial for me long term, and feeling like I was solid in who I was, because I felt kind of blown with the wind wherever I'd go. And that would actually lead to me being more susceptible to distractibility from like my phone, or even other addictions. So this is why I'm so passionate about this and helping people actually understand why this happens and what we can do to actually shift this. The thing that I realized was that I was very much disconnected from a very important part of my brain. I had a brain that was very good at adapting and reacting. But the part of my brain that needed to come more online was my prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is the most developed part of the layer of the human brain. And it's the part of our brain that is able to make decisions. It's able to be aware of ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, our behavior. It has the ability to be cognitively flexible, to see things from different perspectives, to not take things super personally. It's the ability to emotionally regulate. So if we have a strong stress response or a strong emotion, it can help us ground. It can help us see things from a different perspective. It's the part of our brain that's able to plan and set and achieve goals. I can keep going on. Another important thing that I just want to mention is impulse control. It's the ability to stop ourselves in our tracks and create a new, or decide on doing something different. These are executive functions that for many of us, me included, have had a hard time being connected to, and those neural pathways to those functions might be kind of weakened if we've been living in a kind of more of our limbic brain, or the emotional part of our brain, for most of our lives, which is totally understandable if we grew up in an environment, like I said, that made it so it was more conducive for our survival to be adaptable and to constantly kind of react to other people's needs and what was going on around us. And to also kind of have like a stress response around it, where, you know, the limbic system is also the alarm system of our brain, which will detect and pick up on threats, potential threats, whether or not they're real or not, and then alarm our nervous system to go into a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. So understanding this actually helped me so much, because even though my brain might not have been super, you know, that prefrontal cortex part of my brain still wasn't super developed, just understanding that I was maybe living a little bit more in my nervous system and my limbic part of my brain helped me have more compassion for myself, and also motivated me to realize that first and foremost, the brain is neuroplastic, meaning that it can actually change through practice, and that there are things that I can do to strengthen that connection to the more executive leadership part of my brain. And just to give you like an example of what the limbic system might feel like, have you ever gotten an email from your boss and he or she is not telling you what the meeting is about, they just say that they want to meet with you, and your brain and your body immediately jumps to, oh my God, I'm going to be fired, right? Like that is your limbic brain, your amygdala reacting to a potential threat. Even though you haven't had the meeting yet, you don't actually know it's true, it's actually probably not true, but your brain and your body will tell you something different. Like I said, that is the limbic part of your brain that's reacting to the environment, and then also maybe not having that cognitive flexibility to see other perspectives and other possibilities. So for me personally, what helped me reconnecting to this part of my brain is what has allowed me to, first and foremost, become a personal trainer and help other people reach their goals. But for me personally, to be able to stick to a plan when it comes to my training, stick to a plan when it comes to my nutrition, stick to routines that are conducive to my schoolwork and my work, and getting the things done that are really important to me. And I'm so passionate about helping others, including yourself, if you feel like you resonate with this, to actually make that shift for yourself as well. So let's talk about 4 actionable steps that I believe will really help you in creating and sticking to routines that are important to you. Number 1 is to become very aware of what your values are and acting from your values. I think that very many people are disconnected from their values, and when they are disconnected from their values, they're more likely to just follow what other people value, right? Like we'll see stuff on social media, other people doing certain things, and we'll be like, okay, that should be me too. I should be doing that same thing they're doing. And then maybe they're acting from a value that's not necessarily your own, right? So becoming aware what your deeper values are is incredibly important, because if you realize that health, for example, and longevity and vitality and feeling alive in your body is a very deeply held value for you, then you'll be more likely to feel intrinsically motivated to have habits that are in alignment with that goal, or that value. So training a certain amount of times each week, doing certain types of training, eating a certain way, right? And the same way as like completing a project or doing really well at school or at work or creative endeavors, if you have a value of creativity, or if you have a value of mastery, or if you have a value of being in integrity, like these things will help you understand that when you act on your habits or creating a new habit that you want to stick to, you'll be feeling like, okay, yes, I'm doing this because this is in alignment with what I deeply value in myself. And that can actually then become stronger than very quick fix, reward-oriented behaviors like scrolling on your phone for an hour or more every day, or eating food that isn't very much, or like eating more food than what you really want, like eating more candy and more whatever it might be, which, by the way, we have to talk about like how restriction is not the thing either. it's about creating balance, but I believe that the more you can bring to the forefront what you really value, the easier it is then to reduce the habits and the behaviors that are not in alignment with what's really important to you. And that leads me into boundaries with stimulation and rewards. Because if you can start setting yourself some boundaries and plan for yourself to reduce, for example, phone time, reduce certain foods that are very triggering for you. Certain sugar, for example, is very addictive to a lot of people. And again, not having a thing that it's going to be restrictive, you're never going to be able to eat them, but just create some boundaries around it, that you're only going to eat a certain amount each day, or you're going to be on your phone a certain amount each day. Find the boundaries that are important for you. Some boundaries for me, for example, is that I only am on my phone for 30 to 45 minutes each day. I'm not perfect in it, but I do really try to stick to it, because I know when I do, that's when I'll have time to do other things that are more important to me, that are kind of more on my priority value list, right? So that's just one thing. And do apps, like apps that kind of, if you struggle with scrolling, an app that can kind of restrict your scrolling can be really helpful, because oftentimes these habits are so automatic, and like all of a sudden we're on our phone and we didn't even realize how we got there, right? So having like a boundary where literally you have an app that gives you that boundary and you can't help but follow it might be helpful. The number 3 actionable step I want to suggest to you is to establish consistent anchors throughout your week. And what I mean by that is have some non-negotiables that you fulfill every single week. It could be 3 times a week strength training, which is one of mine. It's a minimum goal that I make sure I achieve every single week. And it can also be around nutrition, that you eat over 100 grams of protein each day, if that's in alignment with what's important to you. I would argue that a lot of protein is good for anyone, but having 100 grams that you try to meet every single day or more, that could be a really good way, like an anchor for you to just be like, okay, as long as I hit that, great. It can also be connecting with other people, connecting with your friends, calling someone at least once a week or twice a week, or whatever, again, your goals are and what your needs are and what your values are. The thing I like about having consistent anchors and deciding what they are is that allows for flexibility. If I say that I'm gonna do a very certain schedule every single day, I'm gonna do this at 8 a.m., then I'm gonna do this at 12 p.m., and then I'm gonna do, or 12 a.m., in the middle of the day, and then I'm gonna do this, and like kind of very specifically schedule out my entire day, that doesn't leave a lot of flexibility for me. If I can instead just have some things that I know I'm gonna do each week, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same time every single day, it allows for more flexibility for me, for life to come in and for me to adapt to certain things. If I know that I have 3 times a week that I'm gonna get to the gym or more, then that can happen in the evening, it can happen in the morning. For me, that really works, instead of having like very specific times that I hit these things, especially as someone who is a little bit more adaptable and fluid and flexible with my day and how I like to do things. The 4th and last thing I'm going to suggest is to really anchor into and create a connection with your observer mind. This is something called metacognition. And metacognition is a function of our prefrontal cortex that is kind of like the overarching function for all the other functions to work well. Because metacognition is mindfulness, it's awareness, it's being aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, being aware of your environment, being aware of your body, being present in the present moment, here and now, and your ability to reflect instead of going into kind of automatic habit loops. And the more you can strengthen this observer mind, this metacognition, your ability to think about thinking essentially, the more you're then able to make plans, You're able to decide what's right for you. You're able to impulse control. You're able to stop in the moment of doing an automatic habit, like for example, scrolling when you don't really want to. You're then able to stop in the moment and be like, oh, look at what I'm doing right now. Is this really what I want to be doing? Do I want to be doing something else? Do I actually want to practice right now putting my phone down and then going to my notebook and writing down what's important for me, what my values are, maybe plan out what I want to do tomorrow, or if I am going to go to the gym tomorrow, or if I'm going to make sure I look at how much protein I'm going to get in tomorrow, where those sources are going to be. It shouldn't be something that's like really boring, of course, but it should be something that you are able to do and like just practice that redirection of yourself and practice stepping into your leadership brain. And this can also be, this is important, you can stop your scrolling, notice that you're scrolling, and then you can be like, okay, I'm gonna do this for another 10 minutes. That's okay. I don't have to shame myself. I don't have to get down on myself. I can just decide that this is a conscious decision. The more we strengthen that conscious decision making, I'm making a conscious decision right now with awareness, that is when we strengthen that prefrontal cortex and those executive functions. So in closing, you most likely don't need like a 5 a.m. morning routine and a very specific, rigid, this is what you're gonna do every minute of the day. Likely, you need to create more connection with that part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, that is able to have these, or that can have these executive functions that can then help you structure and become more aware and help you understand what's important to you and make plans and goals. And again, it's not about something, it shouldn't be rigid, right? It usually what happens, or what I've experienced for myself, is the more those functions kind of set themselves in my driver's seat, the less in automatic behavior I am, the less unconsciously I'm behaving and thinking and feeling, the more I can regulate my emotions or feel my emotions and regulate, choose different ways of seeing the world that are more conducive to how I want to feel or how I want to meet the things that are important to me and meet my goals, right? So it's all about not suppressing our emotions. I just want to have that said. It's not about suppressing our nervous system or our bodies or anything like that. It's just allowing that leadership part of our brain step into the driver's seat of our car. So it's not in the driver's or in the back seat, just watching you kind of go around reacting and responding to your environment. It's helping you become more of the decision maker of your life rather than being kind of blown with the wind with your environment or with other people or whatever it might be. So I'd love to hear in the comments if you have any anchors that are really important to you that you're going to try to work on, or that you already have, but you might not even be aware of that you have. You have some non-negotiables throughout the week that might help someone else. I'd love to hear it in the comments. And stay tuned for more videos around these topics. I'm gonna do my best to come back and give you things that are gonna support you on your growth. So take so much care, and I'll see you in the next video.